I think the top streamer this week might be Derek Carr. Maybe
I
this
like
is
him a lot.
Yeah, maybe this is a little bit of a hot take to say that he's a top streamer. I also don't think that there's like amazing options this week overall. Like there's some flags for each of these guys, but I don't think that week one, so they get Carolina, the Saints get Carolina. I don't think that week one really tells us anything about that Panthers secondary per se, because Atlanta was so run heavy and they played Desmond Ridder and they dumped off the ball to their running backs so frequently. I don't really think that that tells us that much. What I do know is that JC Horn's not going to play for Carolina in week two. That's a huge, huge blow to that secondary. This game does have a low total, which is a little bit concerning, but the Saints still have the 14th best implied team total this week out of all teams. And the Saints actually threw the ball last week. I mean, they were 15th in overall pass rate, 13th in neutral script pass rate. They threw it down the field. They had the highest air yards per attempt in the league in week one. So I think it all comes together. There could be some big plays in this offense throughout the season. You have Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed who could really get vertical. And again, without JC Horn in the secondary, I think Derek Carr could be in store for a decent game.
Carr was really good. You wouldn't know it because I think he scored like 16 fantasy points or something against Tennessee. But and by the way, Tennessee is bad. We're going to be targeting them all year. But Derek Carr, 27% deep ball rate. You mentioned the air yards. That was the highest in the NFL. Fifth in completion rate over expected. So I think that he can function really well in this offense.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. I just want to mention Brock Purdy. He's available in 40% of leagues, multiple touchdown throws in all 7 of his NFL starts. And basically, the Niners are heavy favorites against the Rams, 8-point favorites at this moment. This week, Purdy is the kind of guy who will continue to benefit from a neutral and positive game script, where he's not going to be forced into a corner where teams can sort of, what is the phrase, pin their ears back and rush the passer. That's not really going to happen with Purdy. So you can continue starting him this week against the Rams. Should I get my other one now, or you want to go to yours?
I guess I'll go to the other one. Yeah, because Purdy, the reason Purdy is like a fringe, he's not really someone that we can like put in our spreadsheet and say
right.
He's a streamer for us this week, but he's someone who's going to be available in a lot of leagues. He scores basically like 17 fantasy points every game. Like there's not much fluctuation from that. So he's just a very safe option overall. I'll move on to Jordan Love, who gets Atlanta this week. I actually think this game could get really ugly. Like it could be a really, really ugly, boring, bad offensive game. Green Bay has an okay enough implied team total of 21. I'm not like super excited about that. Love was second in the NFL last week in EPA per dropback, but a lot of that was big play driven. You had that like Aaron Jones play and such. He actually had a pretty poor completion rate over expected. And so I'm a little bit concerned about Love, not against like Chicago's defense might be horrible again. Like it just might be a really, really bad defense. They don't really know what they're doing. There's a chance that Chicago is ready to like blow it up again, like next year. Right. Like, there's a legit possibility that this is just not going to work with like Justin Fields and the way this team is built with their offensive line and stuff. So, again, I'm going to look at last week with Chicago with a grain of salt in the way that Jordan Love performed. I think that he's going to be fine, though, against Atlanta. It's a beatable secondary. They were fine, but they played Bryce Young last week, rookie quarterback in his first start. I think it's fine to go Jordan Love, but I would still be playing Derek Carr over a guy like Jordan Love.
Speaking of the Bears, it would be nice if Justin Fields did some running in the coming weeks. We'll see.
Oh my gosh, what an egregious offensive performance by the
God. Just like embarrassing on every level. Yeah. All right, we're going back to Sam Howell here. I see him, I guess, more of as a floor play against the Broncos this week. I don't see this as necessarily anything like close to a shootout. I was kind of surprised by this. JJ, he only ran twice against the Cardinals, 11 yards and a touchdown in the green zone. So, that'll get us by. Not something we necessarily want to rely on. Lots of short throws, had one of the lowest aDOTs of the week among qualifying quarterbacks. But hey, for some reason, the Broncos secondary particularly was terrible against the Raiders in week one. Maybe that carries over. Jimmy Garoppolo had the second highest completion rate over expected of the week against Denver. was amazing, like incredibly good. I did not see that coming at all. So maybe Hal can take advantage of that. Honestly, though, I'm only starting him if I'm pretty desperate there.
Yeah, I think that Hal's going to be someone that we're going to get more excited about in like a shootout type environment, like facing a team like I don't even know if they're on their schedule, but like a Miami, for instance, right?
Where he's pushed, where he's really pushed.
Right, exactly. Speaking of Miami, though, Mac Jones is in that environment this week. Miami's coming off a game where Justin Herbert had a +4% completion rate over expected. He was the QB4 on the week. Now, obviously, that's Justin Herbert. This is Mac Jones. But Miami still doesn't have Jalen Ramsey, obviously. It's still a good defense, still a defense that I'm not, overly excited to use a quarterback against per se. But I do think that when you're talking about this Miami offense where, they were second in the league in aDOT last week. They have a strong pass rate. We know they're going to throw the ball vertically and they're going to keep up pace. And then you look at what Mac Jones did in week 1, in arguably a tougher matchup against Philadelphia. But in week 1, Mac Jones threw it 15 plus air yards on 18.5% of his throws, which is pretty average, maybe a little bit above average at the end of the day. But he did it 10 times because they threw the ball so much. So we have evidence now that New England will not be afraid to throw the ball a lot if a game script or game environment dictates that, which is sort of what happened to some degree last week in Philadelphia. I think that there's a chance that Miami dictates that even earlier than Philadelphia did this past week. And so New England's going to have to keep up the pace with Miami. They were 7th in neutral script pass rate last week. New England was. They were 3rd in overall pass rate. It's good that we have a coordinator in Bill O'Brien now who is not afraid to just sort of let things loose, let things go in this offense, and trust that Mac Jones can make the throws. So I realistically think that we could see another 40+ attempt outing from Mac Jones this week. And so I would put him, I haven't ranked my quarterbacks yet for the week, but I think I wouldn't be surprised if I have him over Jordan Love this week.
I actually would definitely go with Jones over Love. Love's underlying numbers were not great.
Not nearly as good as what people probably think and how well he did. And I know that a lot of pundits are saying, oh, Green Bay's back, the yada, yada, yada. I'll feel a lot better about Jordan Love if Christian Watson goes.
That's right. Yeah, me too.